I hope you are as excited as I am to realize on our journey, the next step is not gold streets surrounded by clouds and mansions on the corners, rather the hillsides of Israel. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 2 of Tavo. And we're talking about what happens when the kingdom comes. If you're like me, you sat on pews and in Sunday school rooms as a child, and you heard the many sermons and teachings, the stories about how the rapture is going to take place and we're all going to glory. I've sat in funerals and heard songs such as Just Build My Mansion Next Door to Jesus, and Meeting on Hallelujah Square, and The Midnight Cry, and other such songs. They're emotional, they're well-intended. Their purpose was to give someone some hope. But no one seems to be talking about the fact that the kingdom comes to the earth. This chapter, Tavo, Devarim, or Deuteronomy, chapter number 26, talks about the fact that when you and I enter into the land, Yeshua reigning on the throne, not only over the land of Israel, but over the entire earth, that you and I will be a part of a functioning economy. Our future is not about sitting under the shade of a fig tree and eating grapes off our vines, and having someone to wait on us while we lay on a chaise lounge out in the backyard. Rather, we will be putting seed in the ground and watching crops grow. We'll be pruning vines and taking their harvest, and perhaps making wine, and maybe one day a particular bottle from our vineyard would be offered as a drink offering at the altar for Yeshua. Wouldn't that be awesome? We will raise livestock. We will have an agricultural society, I'm sure. Will technology be involved? I'm certain that there will be some aspects of technology, perhaps, and probably greater than anything that we have currently. But the fact is that in that day, Tavo, when you come into the land, we're going to be a part of a functioning society. We will be creating something out of the earth, so that then we can bring the first fruits, the bikurim, the first fruits, to the Messiah and present it there to him. Now, this Torah portion in this chapter gives us an understanding, and it says in verse 3, "And you shall come to the one who is priest in those days and say to him," now that will be Yeshua, our high priest, "I declare today to Yahweh your Elohim that I have come to the land which Yahweh swore to our fathers to give to us. And the priest shall take the basket from your hand and place it before the slaughter place of Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall answer and say before Yahweh your Elohim, my father was a perishing Aramaean." Your translations may read a little differently there. "And he went down to Mitzrayim and sojourned there with a few men, and there he became a nation great, mighty, and numerous. But the Mitzrites did evil to us and afflicted us and imposed hard labor on us. Then we cried out to Yahweh our Elohim of our fathers, and Yahweh heard our voice and saw our affliction and our toil and our oppression. And Yahweh brought us out of Mitzrayim with a strong hand, with an outstretched arm, with great fear, and with great signs and wonders. And he brought us to this place." That story mirrors in many ways our own story. We're in the lands of exile. We're becoming a people. The house of Joseph, Ephraim, is beginning to come together, beginning to understand their identity, beginning to form some sense of cohesiveness. We've argued quite a bit. We've debated quite a bit. We've fought quite a bit. But we're trying to learn to be a family. So once the malcontents are either brought to a place of agreement and working together or weeded out, I hope that's not the case. But once we learn to become family and learn to cooperate one with the other, we began to see a nation form. not a nation to rise up in insurrection against our host countries, but we're going to become a people. It's important that we understand we're going to become a people so that we learn it's not about ourselves as individuals, but rather this is of community importance. As Americans, we have learned to be a rugged individual, to fight for our rights, to stand up for our own ground, to protect what belongs to us. That's important. But what's even more important is that we learn that we're not alone, that we belong to one another. You belong to me as much as I belong to you. We're in this as a family, a community. And it's important for us to understand because it's not just within American borders, but the world over in a variety of countries. People are beginning to understand who they are and they wanted to join the family. The commandment here is that you and I recognize how dramatically, supernaturally, we have been delivered and brought to the land. In that day, we will no longer be the name of some other Goyim nationality. We will be Hebrews. We will recognize that Yaakov was our father and that we are his children. We have been exiled, but dramatically, powerfully, in fantastic fashion, brought out of the four corners of this world and reassembled, regathered to the land of Israel. We present our first fruits before our Kohen Haggadah, the high priest, Yeshua our king in that day. And we began to all share the same testimony. We all have the same story. We were outside the land. We were in a bad situation. But he delivered us and he brought us to this place and we're home again. With that, we are to rejoice. The phrase here in Hebrew is samachta. It means to rejoice and make your heart glad, to be merry, even leaping for joy, and understand that that's not because we feel like it. Now, we may be overwhelmed at that moment and have no other response available to us but to jump up and down in the air and holler hallelujah and shout and dance for joy. But it's a command that we are to make merry before him, to rejoice before him, samachta. And so we do it because we need to. I can tell you as one who leads worship, standing in front of an audience and pouring your heart out to the Master through song and adoration and passion and worship, and then opening your eyes and you're looking at a congregation that's just kind of blankly staring into space and calmly reading words off of the wall somewhere, it's a little deflating. But when people are weeping, crying, hands are in the air, they're jumping, they're dancing, they're celebrating, it is a realm of joy that cannot be expressed simply in words. As the people of Yah, as we look at the first fruits and we're reminded of the other fruits of the benefit of Yeshua in our lives, it ought to put a dance in our step and a hallelujah in our mouth and tears rolling down our face, not necessarily with sadness, but with sheer ecstasy and joy of the fact we're redeemed, we're being restored, we're going to be rescued, the exile is coming to a conclusion, we're headed to the kingdom, Yeshua is our king, the earth is going to be filled with his glory, and when we come to the land, he says, you'll never be threatened again. You're never going to have to leave again. You're going to be home to stay. To yearly come before him with our habikurim, our first fruits, and celebrate and dance and rejoice because we need to. Take a moment today. Hop on one foot and then on the other and see what happens. Dance before him. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, shalom.